almost another tour.
Right.
But there was essentially a beef between Bernie Mac and Steve Harvey?
Yes.
It was just me, Bernie, and Sid.
Okay.
And that was rough, man.
Yeah. I mean, they were the kind of guys that they both alpha males, like they.
When you think about a crew or a gang, you usually figure they're all on the same page with their goals, right? Well, hold on to your hats, because when it came to Steve Harvey's crew, things weren't quite that simple. Let me break it down for you. Steve used to have a bunch of comedians working together back in the early 2000s, and they were totally owning the scene. But guess what? Behind the scenes, it was a whole mess. The gang eventually split up and went their own ways, especially one of the comedians, Bernie Mac. Now here's the juicy scoop. Word on the street is that Steve had it in for Bernie right from the get-go. Yeah, it sounds like Steve was all about looking out for number one. And guess who's here to spill the beans? D.L. Hughley is stepping up to spill the tea on why Steve had such a grudge against Bernie from the very start. So what's the real deal that D.L. is about to spill? And why did Steve have this major beef with Bernie? Get ready, because what's about to come out will leave you totally shook.
You feel that the beef between Bernie Mac and Steve Harvey was because Steve Harvey was getting a lot of network love during the time and Bernie Mac not so much?
Yeah, and then Bernie started to get it.
In today's world, Steve Harvey stands as a comedy giant, known far and wide for his immense talent and success. However, as with any public figure, there's a flip side to the praise. Some folks on the internet haven't held back from throwing around terms like arrogant and full of himself when talking about Harvey. But hold on to your thoughts, because the tale of Harvey is far from straightforward. While Harvey basks in the glow of his soaring achievements, there's always been a shadow lurking in the background, his connection with the late Bernie Mac. Harvey and Bernie Mac teamed up to be part of the legendary The Original Kings of Comedy, a stand-up comedy tour and film that took the world by storm in the 2000s. Joined by comedians D.L. Hughley and Cedric the Entertainer, the quartet rocked the stage and saw their careers soar even higher. Yet among the applause and laughter, a persistent rumor whispered about their relationship, suggesting there might not have been much camaraderie between Mac and Harvey. While the rumors lost their grip for a while, they resurfaced with renewed vigor when Mac tragically passed away in 2008. In an episode of Conversations with Ed Gordon, which premiered on Black Entertainment Television, BET, Gordon sat down with Harvey for an interview that tackled the rumored feud head-on. According to the interview, the seeds of discord trace back to a 2003 GQ interview with Bernie Mac. Harvey hints that he felt a twinge of envy towards Mac's success and suspected him of snatching opportunities away. Harvey admits his frustration with the GQ piece, saying, "I was really mad about it at first because it was just not true." Harvey opens up about confronting Mac about the interview. "Bernie told me he never said those things. I had to trust him on that." Following Mac's unfortunate passing, Harvey found solace in his widow, Rhonda McCullough. It was a turning point that helped Harvey lay down the baggage of the supposed feud. Rhonda knows the real story better than anyone else. "It was a moment of release for me, allowing me to let go of a lot of negativity." But Mac also spoke out about fellow comedian Steve Harvey from the Kings of Comedy group in the past. Mac, who starred in the Chris Rock movie Head of State, criticized Harvey for his behavior. Years ago, a representative supposedly linked to Harvey contacted director Steven Soderbergh's office and asked to reconsider casting Mac in a movie. The caller argued that Harvey was more popular. Bernie heard about this incident and wasn't surprised, as he believed Harvey often made things about himself. Bernie accused Harvey of seeking attention and pointed out that whenever Harvey introduced his friend Cedric the Entertainer during their comedy show, The Kings of Comedy, he focused on himself. Bernie wasn't bothered by the incident and couldn't be upset easily. However, Harvey was upset by Bernie's comments. In a radio interview, Harvey said he didn't need to step on anyone to succeed and wasn't interested in being a movie star. He mentioned that he never auditioned for movies and was offered roles directly. In response to Bernie's remark about it always being about Harvey, he explained that the entertainment industry is ego-driven and focused on individuals. Even Cedric the Entertainer had a lot to say about the conflict between Harvey and Mac. He shared his thoughts during an interview on Shannon Sharpe's show, Club Shay Shay. Cedric revealed that he was the one who closed the show on that particular night, not Bernie Mac as depicted in the film. He mentioned that they made a lot of money during their tour and had a good time, but there was tension and unfriendliness between Harvey and Mac. Cedric explained that both Harvey and Mac were strong-willed individuals, often called alpha males. They had different perspectives, but eventually managed to work things out. There have been rumors about what actually caused the beef between Steve Harvey and Bernie Mac, but nobody really knows for sure except those who were present. According to Cedric, it seems that their egos might have led to a sense of competition between the two. When asked about whether the comics clashed while filming, Cedric confirmed that they did. He explained that they were both strong personalities and saw things differently, but ultimately they were able to resolve their differences. Cedric, who was a co-star on Harvey's show, The Steve Harvey Show, also shared his insights on whether the feud was the reason the group didn't reunite for another tour. I think, of course, that was definitely a part of it, but I also think it had a lot to do with the promoter, because he started to let his ego get in the way. The guy who brought us all together started to think it was all about him, so that became an issue too. There were a lot of factors like that.
Yeah. I mean, they were the kind of guys that they both alpha males, like they both, they just saw it different, what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, they was able to get through it.
Also, just 3 years back, D.L. Hughley had a chat about their troubles in a video on Vlad TV. And guess what? Damon Williams, who warmed up the stage for these guys, shared his own take in an interview with Comedy Hype. Now, let's dive into what D.L. Hughley had to say. He walked down memory lane to a time when he was discussing with his fellow comedians the idea of bringing back the famous Kings of Comedy tour. And you won't believe where this conversation took place. A golf course. Imagine the excitement in the air as they talked about putting the tour together. Everyone was pumped up and ready to go. But here comes the twist. The excitement fizzled out like a popped balloon. The next day, their plans fell apart like a house of cards. D.L. Hughley shared that the issues between Harvey and Mac played a role in this collapse. He explained, "We were all together excited, and the next day, it just didn't work out. You see, Bernie felt like he didn't want to do it anymore. He was on his own journey, and the same goes for Steve. Things happen or don't happen for a reason. So yeah, I was disappointed, but I also understood that these kinds of things can happen. The memory that stuck with me was the time spent with people I truly cared about."
And essentially, Bernie, felt like he didn't want to do it anymore. He was on his own path, and Steve, so...
It's quite a tale, isn't it? The comedy dream that seemed within reach one day suddenly slipped through their fingers the next. But that's life. Sometimes things don't go as planned. And even though it's a letdown, there's a silver lining in the memories they created together. In another corner of the comedy world, Damon Williams, an eyewitness, remembered a bit of tension from Bernie Mac. Bernie, known for his lively personality, occasionally commented on Williams needing to adjust parts of his performance. This was because Steve Harvey was touching on similar topics in his routines. It's like a comedy balancing act, avoiding overlap while keeping the audience entertained. In short, the disagreement between Steve and Mac put a halt to the anticipated sequel of The Kings of Comedy. Many people felt that Steve's behavior was shady, and there was a consensus that Bernie was the superior comedian. One fan even expressed, "Steve, in my opinion, is not on the level Bernie was on, and is even in death. I believe he was jealous. The Bernie was a natural, a comedic genius." Another fan echoed similar sentiments, saying, "Bernie Mac was the best. Steve Harvey will never measure up to Bernie Mac." Now, what do you think about this? Do you believe that Bernie was more skilled than Steve? Share your thoughts in the comments below. As we await more updates, be sure to catch our upcoming video where we'll unveil even more surprising details.